Michael Blur has written to Free Domain Radio. And now this is all caps. And as you well know, on the internet, there's very little more compelling than all caps. All caps, of course, is like having LBJ want you to pass his legislation, grabbing you by the lapel and breathing cigar smoke and hooker dust into your face. And so I won't scream it, although, of course, that's what all caps looks like. He said, socialism has plenty. I think it means plenty. Socialism has plenty faces. Venezuela have demonstrated, practiced the destruction of the criminal fascist capitalism. A country has to belong to their citizens, all citizens, not just for a bunch of capitalist scumbags / criminals. And, you know, there's this, I didn't answer the earlier question, what's wrong with ideology? Most people just take people that they don't like and apply intellectuals' terms to them so that they feel somehow ennobled in their bigotry and dislike. And so the word capitalist, it's just like rich people who buy and sell things. I mean, it's just become one of these words that, you know, rich people I don't like, you know, and that's just become capitalists. And that is not at all, of course, the meaning of the term capitalism is basically a system of private property rights where the state is separated from the economy for the same reasons that the state should be separated from religion, right? Because when the state has power over religious belief, then all the religious people in the world try and gain power of the state to impose their beliefs on others. So separation of church and state is foundational to a free society. And separation of state and economics is equally essential and used to be well understood, but, you know, leftists, Marxists, blah-de-blahs, and some rhinos, Republicans in name only, have obscured this basic reality. And so what you want to do, if you want to use the word capitalism for particular individuals, making capitalism equivalent to wealth is like calling a serial rapist Rudy Valentino, because he just, you know, has orifice sex, right? So somebody who's really good at seducing women or men is not the same as a serial rapist, right? And if you conflate the two, it's just weird, you know, it just shows a blatant prejudice and lack of regard for any foundational truths. So if you want to evaluate whether a country is capitalist, what you do is you look for an adherence to private property rights. And so a capitalist society can't have any taxation because taxes are violations of private property rights. A capitalist society, so if you see taxes, not capitalist. Now, it doesn't mean it's black and white, right? So if there's 0.001% taxation, then, right, it's 99.99% or whatever it is, capitalist. But the moment you start to see taxes introduced, you are no longer dealing with a capitalist system. And the more taxes that are introduced, the less you are dealing with a capitalist system. So that's the first order of business. The second order of business is, to what degree does the government own property? Now, once you have a government owning property, it is no longer a capitalist system. And the more that the government owns property, the less you have a capitalist system. So in America, the government owns a third of the land. And also, the government owns everything. It's a third and all of it, right? Because if you live in a house, then the government charges you a shakedown fee called a property tax. And if you don't pay your property tax, the government takes away your house. Well, that's called being a landlord, right? So if you rent a house in a room, right? When I was a grad student, I paid like $270 a month to rent a room in a house. And if I didn't pay that rent, I got kicked out onto the street because I was not the owner of the house, right? The government owns everything in that if you don't pay your property taxes, the government will take away your house. Just as if you are renting a place and you don't pay your rent, the landlord can take back the apartment or the house or whatever it is that you're the rental company or whatever. You don't pay your rent on a car or anything and they'll take it back. So the government owns everything fundamentally. You are suffered to live in your house if you pay off your 2% or whatever it is of property value every year. If you pay off the government, they'll let you stay in the house that they own, but you occupy. So this is another thing. How much does the government own of land? what percentage of the economy is dominated by the government, right? So if it's 1% of the economy, you have a 99% capitalist. These are rough, or it's not perfect, but if it's 1% of the economy, then you have a 99% capitalist system, because all government activity within an economy is a violation of private property rights, right? And again, you may agree or disagree, but I'm giving you just a basic technical definition of these things. And so if the government owns 40% of the economy or runs 40% of the economy, then you have a 40% non-capitalist system or society. Now, it's also, again, it's not a clear line of demarcation, because the degree to which the government controls the economy is the degree to which capitalist planning becomes pretty much impossible, right? So, for instance, there's arguments that in California, and this I get from Tom Sowell, but there's an argument that says a house in Houston, there's no zoning in Houston, or you can build wherever you want, whatever you want. A house in Houston that costs $150,000 will cost about $1 million in California, because you have to jump through so many bureaucratic hoops in order to build a house in California. It's so ridiculously expensive to navigate this bureaucratic maze that the price of housing goes up massively. So planning building houses in California has become very difficult indeed. So the degree to which the government grows, think of it's like a statue at sunset, right? Statue shadow at noon, pretty small, right? But the shadow cast by the government over the economy far outstrips just its mere percentage, because it disrupts and confuses the rest of the economy. Like if I said to you, hey, come swimming in my pool. It's a really, really nice pool, and only 40% of the water is pee. Would you say, actually, no, I'll just swim in the 40% that's not pee? I'll just swim in the 60% that's not pee. I won't go over to that wall. No, because you recognize that the pee mixes in. Like having a non-peeing section of a pool is like having a non-smoking section of a restaurant. The smoke doesn't go, oh, here, but no further. You can't put dog collars on it or anything. So the government's effect on the economy vastly outstrips just its mere percentage. But this is another way of evaluating the degree of capitalism, of respect for private property rights in a particular system. And so everyone who says, well, there are rich people buying and selling things, therefore they are capitalist scumbags or something like that. I mean, it's one thing to hate capitalist rich people, but you really should identify them correctly, because basically it's like being, it's like claiming to be a rabid anti-Semite and claiming that you hate platypuses. You just reveal yourself to be so woefully ignorant of even the definitions of the terms that you're using that it's hard not to, it's hard to keep a straight face, And the last thing I'll say when it comes to figuring out a capitalist system is who controls the currency. Now, if the currency is in the hands of the free market, right? Think of cryptocurrencies, right? Governments don't control those. Then you have a free market in currencies. If the government controls the currency, you do not have a capitalist system. And then you only maybe have the vestiges of a capitalist system. Like saying that when the government controls the money, you have a capitalist system is like saying Soviet Russia, like in the 1950s with the capitalist system, because people bartered toothbrushes for soap, therefore capitalism. It's like, no, I don't think so. You can get monkeys to trade food pellets for sex. Right? You can give male monkeys food pellets and deny them the females. First thing the male monkeys do is try and trade pellets for sex. Tinder. But you can, you'll not be seeing that on the TSE or New York Stock Exchange anytime soon. Monkey futures, sex for pellets. I believe that's what's going to be happening. So where the governments control the currency, and this is the case around the world, I don't think that there is a single currency left that is gold-backed. Maybe the Swiss franc? I don't know. But as far as there being a free market in a country of currency, legal tender currency, not there. In 19th century America, it happened, which is why prices declined over the whole century. So if you say that a capitalist system is like an economic system is somehow capitalist, when the government controls the currency that is common to all legal transactions, then I'm afraid you are in a 100% pea pool thinking that somehow you're drinking fresh water. So I hope that helps. And thank you everyone so much for your comments. Please, please keep them coming. They are always entertaining and instructive and hopefully enjoyable to you as well. freedomainradio.com/donate to help out the show. You can also include your questions in your PayPal comments if you donate. I'm not saying we give them more attention. Okay, bye.